a lot of people tend to forget is, while you're Nawab and all those things, in terms of lineage, you're actually an extremely self-made person.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we can carry on. Yes. Yeah, but you know, narratives suits, I've learned this. They just, you can't argue against them, whether they're true or not. You can go blue. People have a certain fixed notion.
Right. You know, because that's the part of your life that I really want to talk about, because it's seldom spoken of, in the sense that you were a 20-year-old kid who showed up in Bombay, living on your own. I don't think you took money from your parents. No. You're absolutely self-made in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, even for that matter, Patodi, I mean, when my father died, it was rented to the Nimrana group of hotels. Okay. So Aman and Francis used to run that. Yes. Francis passed away now, poor fellow. So he said, you know, if you ever want it back, let me know. And I said, I want it back. So they had a conference and said, okay, you have to give us lots of money, which I then consequently earned and kind of, so even the house I'm supposedly inherited has been earned back through money from films. And I mean, you can't live on the past. At least we can't in our family. I mean, because there was nothing. There's some history and culture and some beautiful photographs, and of course some land. And it's been a privileged upbringing. But there's been no
like
inheritance
coming from
there. There's
there.
no inheritance
Never
coming
been.
from there. Never been.
So when you moved to Bombay, Saif, you were not from the city. You actually lived in a house that you rented. Is that how it worked?
Well, I was born here and I was familiar with Bombay. Then we lived in Bhopal and Patodi and Delhi.
Where did you grow up in Bombay? Carmichael Road?
In Carmichael Road, yeah. Because my mother, I think, was keen and being married to my father, they're different worlds, you know. So it wasn't a very film-centric kind of upbringing.
And South Bombay anyway.
And South Bombay, whatever, in Cathedral and Bombay Gym. That's because also my father's world and that influence, which I think she was quite happy to be a part of, away from, you know, the constant pressure of being in a film environment. Right. So a little break in life. Right. So I think one has inherited that.
So you then, of course, were in Delhi, and then that's where you moved to Bombay from. Would that be correct to say after you finished?
Well, my father, you know, was living with my mother in her flat in Rashmi, and he had just finished kind of playing cricket when I was 4 or 5 was his last test series. So my mother says, was bunking his responsibilities as they were in Bhopal, Patodi, because his mother was looking after things, and she got a bit old. We moved to Delhi to kind of live with her.
Right. With your grandma?
With my grandmother in, you know, nice big old house in Delhi where, which she had been given for her lifetime in return for land and property and all those kind of deals that these old families had made with the Indian government.
Right. 71.
71,
right.
Exactly. So that's why we moved to Delhi. And it was great living in Delhi. We had a lot of fun. I think that was the generation of these designers like Rohit Bal, Rohit Khosla, you know, Ashish Soni, and these people were among the first people I'd come across who were doing something off the beaten track in terms of art and culture, which might have somewhere planted a seed of, you know, why not go and act in films or try and do that, because the whole force was to be a doctor or lawyer.
You started with an ad anyway, right?
Yeah, my father sent me to an ad agency to get a job, and he thought it'd be character forming because I was partying a lot. Okay. And not doing much.
Where were you partying in Delhi?
At the Ghungru, you know, with everyone. It was fantastic, at a great time. And he said, you know, this is not working for me. So he used to send me in a bus to some Sundar Nagar in Delhi. And we were working for this agency. And I think one of the jobs we had was making religious calendars for the Birlas. So the only creative thing was, should we put Lord Vishnu in October or let's put him in November. So I kind of lost interest with that quite soon. Yeah, but.
And then Gwalior happened? Is that what the
Gwalior shootings, I mean, my father again had a thing. My parents were shooting this ad together, and he said, I think they'd asked him, is your son interested? So he had this plan. He said, at 7 o'clock this evening, I want you first have a bath, comb your hair, and just stick your head into the living room and come and say hello to me at 7. That was his whole plan, which I did. And the producer was sitting there. Right. So I think the idea was like, oh, you know, your son and Woody, that kind of thing. And I got it. But, you know, honestly, I think the way my upbringing was, or the kind of life I had, or the lack of some kind of genuine confidence or something. I wasn't a very good cinematic figure, you know, in terms of either to shoot in photographs. I think I was very effeminate and very kind of coy and shy and kind of unsure, which is, you know, precisely the worst qualities you could have for a
leading man, as it were?
Yeah, as an actor in Bombay. But not bad for a kind of a, you know, Western academic schoolboy.
Sure.
You know, that there was a different culture altogether. So some quick learning was required.
And then you moved to Bombay. I'm presuming you rent an apartment, or did you go to Carmichael Road?
No, I tried staying in Carmichael Road, but it was really lonely and empty and kind of, I didn't know anybody around, and I found it very difficult to run this house on my own and kind of feel okay there. And my mom used to come and spend time with me, and then.
So where did you first move?
We rented a place in Lokhandwala called Red Rose, one building, a small flat, and we had cane furniture, and the producer's daughter very kindly did up the place for me until one night when I came back from dinner, let's say, with friends, and I couldn't open the bedroom door because she had locked it, and she had gone to sleep on the bed. I think she had a plan. And I was peeping, there was a big gap between the door and the carpet. So I was peeping under there, I could see her, and she was a large lady, so it was like a whale on my bed. And I thought, I'm not going in there. So we went out again.
Why would she do that? She wanted you out.
Huh?
She wanted you out, or she wanted you in?
She was my interior designer.
Right.
She was doing the furniture.
Right.
And she locked the bedroom door and she went to sleep, thinking I'll have to knock. And I don't know what the plan was. Maybe, I don't know what it was. She should have left it open at least, I would have thought. I don't know. Anyway.
So that's when you begin your career pretty much by yourself. And it's, from whatever I've read, it's a disastrous start.
It's a disastrous start.
So is there a person who brought you here?
Yeah, Anand Mahindru, who was doing television, came to Delhi. That's when, so there was all this thing of school. I went to a really academic school. Really, like Eton and Winchester, and you're supposed to go to Oxford, and I learned a lot of respect for, you know, this
Winchester is where you
the
went
academic world. Winchester is
Is
where I
that the
was.
school that sends the ball boys for Wimbledon? No. Would it be the same school?
No, I don't think
it's
so.
Not true. Okay.
No, it must be some other school.
Right.
But this is like the oldest school in England. It's 1300 or something it was founded in, and it's really kind of like ancient, and the respect for academics and books and everything, you know, it's on another level. And the idea is, obviously, it's not a cheap school, that you go to Oxford or you go to, you know, wherever. So that hadn't worked out. So I was in a little black books of my parents who were like, you know, this guy's, and then Delhi and, you know, and partying and Gungru, and they were like, you know, and I was really actually getting scared because there was nothing I was interested in. And maybe that was the product of a privileged upbringing, but I said, I don't want to sit behind a desk, and I genuinely, I'm not interested. I don't know what to do. And then when Anand Mahindru, after this Gwalior shootings, I had said, you know, a film, suddenly some bells started going off, maybe something genetic in the blood, or I don't know. I suddenly thought the idea is so exciting of moving to Bombay. I remember having that shower in Delhi, and we had an old house with like funny water, and I don't know, didn't work half the time. You had to fiddle with it forever to get it right. They get too cold and then too hot.
We're digressing.
Sorry. All right. You said make it anecdotal. Yeah. Okay, but not to this point. Chipkali is on the ceiling.
Yeah. And then I called PWD.
Yeah, and then I said, okay, stop. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Right. So where was I? I was having the shower, and I said, I was so excited that I had an idea for a kind of a life I could see. Coming to Bombay, struggling, getting into this rented little flat and working. And the idea of working in films at that moment just meant meeting different people and working odd hours and just collaborating on whatever, just something really exciting. And it's the only job that from 18, when I started considering it seriously, I've always been fascinated and passionate about, because I had this really dangerous trait of losing interest in things after a while, which is something I think everyone worries about their kid having. Right. That after a while you just lose interest.
Were you not a movie buff though?
Yeah, but a Western movie buff.
Sure.
I used to watch some Hindi films, and then Amitabh Bachchan movies I liked, and I found them very over emotional when I was young, also because my mother was an actor, and then when I see her crying on screen, it's not something I enjoyed. So I'd say, I don't want to watch this. So, and Hindi films at that point in the 70s and it were overly emotional. There's always, you know, a mother crying there. So I thought, I don't want to watch this.
Right. So then you moved to Bombay because Anand Mahindru comes up and
offers me
you a
this
film.
movie, and then comes to the Ghungru, and I tell all my friends, I said, hey guys, this is the director and I'm going to Bombay.
Right.
And he had a couple of vodkas, I shouldn't say it, and he threw up.
Why did he throw up?
I don't know why he threw up, but so these same guys came and said, bro, your director friend's in the bathroom, he's not feeling so good. I was like, no. And then, so I should have realized we're in a bit of trouble, but we came to Bombay and Sati Shori was the producer. And then somebody told me a story about her, that she had run out of money while making Farishte with Vinod Khanna, and there was this ambitious large film. These panthers were chasing him in the shot, and then they ran out of money or something, and when he comes around the corner, they said, no panthers because we need money. So she said something, she said, okay, get some dogs and paint them black. So these panthers become, so that was my producer.
This is apocryphal, you said.
No, it's apparently it's there. If you see Farishte is made, it's out there.
Sure. So there is a panther is actually a dog.
No, the panther becomes the dog. It starts off, you know.
Okay, it becomes a dog.
Yeah, because so this was
that's the story about your first producer.
Yes. And then, you know, there were other things as well where she used to pay me 1,000 rupees a week, and I'd have to kiss her 10 times on the cheek.
Okay.
So there was that, and anyway, they had a fight.
Okay.
Because she was quite
director
tough.
And the producer.
Yeah, she was also quite scary, and as some industry women can be, you know. So she had a fight with the director, and I got saved because the film got shelved. Right. So that is where the disaster started. Then Rahul Ravel cast me in his film.
That's Disaster 2, isn't it?
That's Disaster 2. Kamal Sadhana was in the movie, so he threw out Kamal Sadhana and took me for no fault of Kamal's, and then found that I'm much worse, and then threw me out and took him. And then Kamal and I became friends because we just thought it's absurd what's happening with us. So that was that.